Good morning, children, and welcome to Storytime. It is a very special day today because it is what we call in our church Ash Wednesday, and it's a day that we start a whole season. It's 40 days of a season called Lent, and Lent is a special time in the year where we think about what we need to say sorry for, and what we need to apologize for, and what we need to think about. It's like many different religions. We have Lent in the Christian church. In the Islamic community, they have Ramadan, which is Days of Atonement. And in the Jewish community, they have Yom Kippur. And so I found this wonderful story. It's called The Hardest Word. And it's a Yom Kippur story by Jacqueline Jules, illustrated by Catherine Janice Kahn. And I will show you the pictures because they're really good. Okay, this is called The Hardest Word. A long, long time ago, the world had large and fabulous creatures. One of those creatures was a gigantic yellow bird with dark red wings and a purple forehead. And he was called the Ziz. The Ziz. The Ziz was so huge that when he spread out his wings, he blocked the sun as if it were a dark rain cloud. Every time he flew over a town, all the mothers would call to their children, "Come inside before it rains." This made the Big Ziz sad. He loved children and he didn't want to spoil their playtime. Sizzle, snap, bang! So the Ziz started flying around at night when no one would notice that he made the sky dark with his gigantic wings. And that worked fine for a while. Then one night, the Big Ziz flew too high and he bumped into a star. Oh, and that's when he hit the star. Zizzle, snap, bang! The star fell out of the sky and down to the earth. It burned a big hole in the ground. Oh no. The next morning, when the Ziz saw the big hole, he was worried. "What can I do to cover this hole?" he asked himself. He thought about it for a while and came up with an idea. He stretched out his huge wings and went back up to the sky. This time, he knocked down a cloud. Plop! The cloud was full of rain and it filled the big hole with water. Now the big hole was a lovely pond, perfect for swimming. All the children came running to the pond, screaming with delight. It was a hot and sunny day, and they had a wonderful time splashing and playing in the water. "That mistake is all fixed," the Ziz smiled. One day, however, the Ziz made a mistake he could not fix. It was the week before Yom Kippur, and he was flying along, not watching where he was going, and he flew smack into the tallest pine tree in the world. Boom! The tree fell over and knocked over another tree, and that tree knocked down another tree, and that tree fell on the vegetable garden behind the synagogue. Smash, squash, oops! Oh no! The Ziz covered his eyes with his big wings. "Not the vegetable garden, it belongs to the children." The Ziz uncovered his eyes to look at the damage. The tomatoes, the corn, the pumpkins, the beans, the gourds, the squash, all the vegetables the children had worked so hard to plant were smashed to bits. "I can't knock down a cloud to fix this," the Ziz cried. The Ziz flew home and sat in his own garden to think. He had watched the children plant their vegetable garden. Every year they harvested the fruits to decorate their sukkah. What will the children do this year? The Ziz spread out his big wings and flew off to have a chat with God. The Ziz had a special place where he liked to talk to God. It was Mount Sinai. The Ziz was so huge that when he stood on Mount Sinai, his purple feathered head reached right up to heaven. "What have you done this time?" God asked as soon as he saw the Ziz. This was not the first time the Ziz had come to Mount Sinai after making a mistake. "I knocked over a big tree. It knocked over another tree, and that tree smashed a vegetable garden." "The children's garden?" God questioned. "Yes," the Ziz admitted, hanging his head. "That's a problem," God said. "I can't knock down a cloud and make this better." "No, you can't," God agreed. "What should I do?" "I want you to do something for me," God said. "Anything," the Ziz promised. "I want you to search the earth and bring back the hardest word." "The hardest word?" the Ziz questioned. "Yes," God answered. "Now go." The Ziz stretched out his big wings and went off to search. He flew over mountains, he flew over trees, he flew over valleys, he flew over seas. Flap, flap, I'm the biggest bird. Flap, flap, searching for the hardest word. After searching the whole day, the Ziz stopped to rest at the edge of a forest. In a little house nearby, he heard a mother and child arguing. "I don't want to go to bed," the little boy said. "You need your rest," the mother said. "I'm not tired," the little boy cried. "Good night," the mother said firmly, closing the door. "That's it!" Ziz flapped his wings. "The hardest word, I found it." Ziz flew as fast as he could to Mount Sinai. With great excitement, he put his bird feet down on the top and poked his purple feathered head into the heaven, and he said, "I found it! I found the hardest word." "What is it?" God asked. "It's good night." Every child hates that word. Ziz did a dance right on top of Mount Sinai. He loved being right. "Good night is a hard word for children," God agreed. I knew it, Ziz danced. "But there is another word even harder," God said. "There is," Ziz slumped over disappointed. "There is," God declared. "Go and find it." So the Ziz spread out his mighty wings and went off to search. He flew over mountains, he flew over trees, he flew over valleys, he flew over seas. Flap, flap, I'm the biggest bird. Flap, flap, searching for the hardest word. After searching all day, Ziz stopped at a big feast on the grounds of a castle. He listened. With so many people talking, he felt sure someone would say the hardest word. "I'm hungry," a little girl said to her mother. "May I have some biscotti, please?" The mother smiled. "Oh, you want spaghetti." "That's it," Ziz realized. "I've got it now." He spread out his great big wings and flew back to Mount Sinai. He planted his bird feet right on the mountaintop and poked his purple feather head into heaven. "I know the hardest word," he sang. "What is it?" God asked. "It's spaghetti." Ziz hopped up and down on one foot. Standing still was hard, especially when he was excited. "Spaghetti is a hard word to say," God agreed. "Didn't I tell you?" Ziz hopped some more. "But there is another word even harder," God said. "There is?" Ziz slumped over disappointed. "There is," God declared. "Go and find it." The Ziz stretched out his big wings and went back out to search. He flew over mountains, he flew over trees, he flew over valleys, he flew over seas. Flap, flap, I'm the biggest bird. Flap, flap, searching for the hardest word. The Ziz searched for 3 more days. He brought back lots of words to Mount Sinai, words like rock, rhinoceros, ridiculous, and Rumpelstiltskin. Each time God sent the Ziz back out to find another word. By the evening of Yom Kippur, the Ziz had brought over 100 words to Mount Sinai, and God had not accepted any of them. The Ziz was discouraged. He had tried and tried. He flew back to Mount Sinai to have one more discussion with God. "What word did you bring me this time?" God asked. "No word," the Ziz said quietly. "No word?" God asked. "No," the Ziz said sadly. "I've come to say I'm sorry. I can't find the hardest word." "You can't?" God asked. "No," the Ziz shook his head. "I'm sorry." "You're sorry?" God asked. "Yes," Ziz nodded his big purple head. "I'm sorry." "Good job," God said. "You found the hardest word." "I did?" Now the Ziz was confused. "Yes," God said, "the hardest word is sorry. While all the words you brought me were hard, sorry is the hardest." "I always say I'm sorry on Yom Kippur," the Ziz said. "Well, you should say it other times too," God answered. "Like when I smashed the garden?" Ziz asked. "That's right." The Ziz thanked God and pulled his purple feathered head out of heaven. Then he spread out his great big wings and flew back to the children's garden. On the way, he stopped at his own garden and gathered a big basket of fruits and vegetables for the children. It was time to say the hardest word. That's a nice story. It's a story about even when we do something wrong, we can still say sorry and our friends will understand. So this is called the hardest word. There's Ziz. And thank you for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful season of Lent. Bye-bye.